Good afternoon. Welcome to Cybersecurity Studio. I'm your host, John Dittmer. Today is Sunday, March 8, 2020, and today's subject is the coronavirus, a case study in business continuity planning. Now, obviously, if you're on YouTube or if you're on any of those social media networks, you probably heard about the coronavirus and the outbreak around the world. Okay? I personally think it's much hyped. I'm 55 years old. I've somehow managed to survive the bird flu, swine flu, the H1N1 virus, SARS, you name it. Either I must be a pretty good survivor, or a lot of these outbreaks have been really, really hyped, and and I think people's sense of panic has just overtaken them. However, doesn't mean that cruises aren't being canceled. It doesn't mean that public events such as SW haven't been canceled. They're even talking about, a lot of major events that are coming up in the next several months are being canceled because of fears of being contaminated by coronavirus. Okay, so we're going to have to do in reality is that there's some scary stuff out there that people are concerned about, for right or wrong, and we're going to have to be prepared. And even if you're not affected by coronavirus, in my case, I live in Northern Virginia area, and which is part of the DC area. And living and working in DC for a few decades now, I live there. It doesn't take that much to disrupt operations around here. All it takes is a few inches of snow, and all of a sudden people are saying, "Oh, I can't drive in today," and the federal government will, in some cases, will shut down operations. I grew up in Connecticut. I mean, it's like you wouldn't even shut down school unless there were several inches of snow. But that's neither here or there. You're welcome to DC, where a lot of cases the transportation infrastructure can't handle a little snow, and also too, like I was here doing 9/11, I saw lots of disruption. So anyway you look at it, you need to be prepared for disruptions. Okay, and how do you do that? Well, in the cybersecurity realm, there is a practice known as business continuity planning, or business continuity and resilience planning. And it is the process of creating systems of prevention and recovery to deal with potential threats to a company or other organization. In addition to prevention, the goal is to enable ongoing operations before and during the execution of disaster recovery. Okay? So how do you do that? Well, one of your first major steps is conducting what is known as a business impact analysis. All right? So what a business impact analysis is the process of differentiating between critical/urgent functions and non-urgent functions that your organization performs. A function may be considered critical if it's dictated by law or operational necessity, okay, especially in the government realm. For example, when I was growing up in Connecticut, my father was a policeman. He had to go to work because he was the chief of police of the Navy submarine base in Groton, Connecticut. Okay, his function was essential. He was going to go to work, and I had to shovel the snow. Okay, we had a very clear, understanding relationship. Okay, so his function was critical, being a policeman, running the operations of the police department. Okay, in much the same way, you as a cybersecurity professional have to do that for your organization's functions. Okay, included in the business impact analysis, you have to assign two values. First is the recovery point objective, or RPO, and that's the acceptable latency of data that will not be recovered. In layman's terms, it's like how much data is acceptable for you to lose. Like, let's say you determine that it's okay for your system to be down for 2 hours, and you might lose that much data. Okay. The other objective in your business impact analysis is the recovery time objective, RTO, and that's the acceptable amount of time to restore the function. And that could be embodied in about 4 different ways. It could either be the maximum tolerable period of disruption, or the maximum tolerable downtime. Okay, in some cases, you're not going to have any allowable downtime. Believe me, if you're in charge of operations for the Amazon website, you're not going to, Mr. Bebos is not going to let you have any downtime. Okay, you better have multiple systems ready to operate on a 24/7 basis. Okay, or else Amazon loses millions of dollars. Okay. Also, their embodiment is a maximum tolerable outage. Like, let's say, power goes out. How long are you allowed to have that power out? Maximum allowable outage. So, there's different versions, but it's really all the same thing. How long can your system be out, and how would it impact your operations? Okay. So, my advice is you sit down with a bunch of colleagues. You don't need a lot of high tech. You just need to sit down with your colleagues and figure out, okay, what are your essential missions? What's urgent? What's truly critical? And what's not? And for those urgent functions, what does it take to keep going? What are you allowed for your downtime or your disruption and your time to recovery? Okay, they're going to drive a lot of your factors. Like, for example, if you're required to be up 24/7, all right, that should be your rationale for having multiple, what we call in the government, COOP sites, or continuity of operation sites. You can call them hot sites, cold sites, depending on how you have it. It can be anything from, okay, I have a secondary site that once my primary site goes down, my secondary site goes up, and they better not be in the same place and be affected by the same disaster. For example, you don't want to have the same hurricane take both of them down at the same time. So let's say you have an operations center in Florida. You better have another one in Texas, because obviously the same hurricane is not going to affect them both. Okay? And in some cases, if it's really, really critical, like, for example, Amazon, I would assume that they have several sites that are operating at, ready to go in a moment's notice. So when it's up, so when primary site goes down, secondary sites are ready to go in. Now, you have to do some planning. Okay, what do you want to have in those sites? Okay, you basically almost want to have the same devices, be able to run backups either on a periodic basis, or you might have a continuous backups being done. It depends on the urgency and the criticality of that data. So that's what I'm saying. You need to sit down with your colleagues and figure out what you need. And also, too, justify getting those resources and those capabilities that you need to get functioning. Okay? I'll give you a prime example when it comes to coronavirus. Okay? When you do, like, for example, if you're at a government agency in D.C. and the coronavirus has gotten so bad, the federal government is going to be closed in downtown D.C. for a few days because everybody's panicking, that there's a remote chance that they might get the coronavirus. Okay, now let's think about this. Okay, let's say you have an agency with 1,000 people working in the same building. All right, in DC, you can't, for whatever reason, you decide, okay, everybody's going to work remotely. So that means out of 1,000 people, 980 of them are going to have to take their government furnished equipment and go home and start working. Okay, so that also means that your 10 or 20 people that are working at the server farm have to be able to keep that server going, keep it running. You might have to be able to expand your bandwidth that's coming into the servers from the outside. So you might want to take a look at how your communications is set up. Make sure your network has the proper bandwidth to handle that much equipment. So that way you can keep your operations running smoothly. A lot of times you're just sitting around the room and talking with your colleagues. Also, too, if you're talking about a disruptive event that might be caused by fire, flood, hurricane, earthquake, whatever, you want to talk to them. Okay, do we have the resources and capabilities involving with firefighting, controlling flooding, controlling the humidity, backup generators? It all depends on what your site is vulnerable to, and also the criticality of your information and your operations. So now, inherent with that is going to be your needs to have a plan in place. Make sure that you have it, you run it through the leaders of your staff to make sure that you got everything covered. You covered all the bases, looked at all the likely contingencies, and make sure that you have a plan to cover them. In addition, make sure that you can use that as your justification for additional resources if necessary. Because believe me, you're never going to have all the resources you need. All right? I've been in the Navy. I've worked for many companies. Don't worry, it's not coronavirus. And believe me, you're never going to have all the resources you need, and you're going to be competing for what you have, okay, and what you're going to get. Because everybody's going to say, but my needs are more important than your needs. Well, guess what? If I can't keep my servers up, this website won't work. So be able to provide that kind of justification to the operations and the revenues for your company or your operational capability for your agency, whatever it is that your organization needs. So think in those terms. Now, not only have to have a plan in place, but you better be able to exercise that plan on a regular basis. Depending on your organization's requirements, you may have to do once a quarter, once a year. Like, for example, at that backup site, make sure you can turn on the lights, turn on the servers, make sure the comm links work. And also, too, if you have a plan, what does that plan include? If you're talking about, hey, everybody takes their laptop and go home, okay, does that mean that everybody's trained up in how to use the VPNs or the Citrix server or whatever software that you need to make your connections from point A to point B? Also, too, if your plan is, okay, everybody just stay home and laptops. Okay, so you're depending on people's personal laptops. What does that mean in terms of cybersecurity? Okay, do they have the antivirus that's needed to prevent from malware getting into your company's network? Do they have Citrix? They able to operate in a virtual environment so they can do their work? Do they, have people been trained, with cybersecurity so they don't become the weaklings from their personal laptops logging in from home? So you got to keep all that stuff in mind and be able to do the planning that it takes to keep your operations going, to keep that continuity. Well, if you like what you saw today and want to keep it coming, please support my efforts. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe. I always need more subscribers. Okay, so we could fund this and make better and more relevant videos. Seriously consider about becoming a patron. Support me via the Patreon site that's listed above. If you become a patron, I will do a shout out and tell what a great guy you are in supporting cybersecurity, and give you a heads up on future cybersecurity videos. All right. If you like what you saw, tell a friend. If you don't like what you saw, tell an enemy. All right. Have a great and safe day, and I'll see you later.